Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today is my 100th episode. For this special occasion, I thought I'd do something a little different and take a look back at the nearly 2 years of videos to talk about some of my favorite moments from the comics I've covered, especially if I didn't get around to mentioning those things in the video for the comic. If you're anything like me, you'll probably hate long intros, so let's just get right to it and start with number 5. I can't believe I didn't even know who Midnighter was before I started reviewing comics 3 years ago, because he's quickly become one of my favorite characters to read about. And his relationship with longtime love interest Apollo has been one of the most powerful in comic books. Despite the fact that it kind of feels like they started as a gay joke version of Batman and Superman, comics writer Steve Orlando has made them into interesting and exciting characters. In the Midnighter and Apollo series, that served as a sequel to his earlier Midnighter series, is a perfect example of him achieving that. But one of the things I found most interesting in the series was Apollo's torture. Having been killed by the Lord of Guns, Apollo wakes up in hell to find himself at the mercy of the demon Neron. Neron, as demons do, chooses to torture the would-be sun god, and one of the ways he does that is by making him play a board game. Not sure who would consider a board game torture, but hey, what do I know? But the most interesting thing about the bizarre board game they play in the series is that it's a real board game. Called The Mansion of Happiness, it's one of the first board games published in America, and is actually a moralistic game designed to teach good little Christian boys and girls about the different virtues and vices. So I guess I can see why an atheist might find it a little torturous, but I think it sounds pretty cool. Seriously, if anyone out there has a version and would like to livestream a Let's Play, I'm so down. Number 4. The New 52 Supergirl comic is not a comic that I would say a lot of positive things about, which is a major shame because it starts less than a year after the end of the Sterling Gates and Jamal Eagle run on the previous Supergirl series, which was great. But one thing I did really like was a new origin for the Cyborg Superman. Now I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about the death and return of Superman stories, but personally, I like them a lot. And one of the things I liked the most was the mysterious Cyborg Superman, who turned out to be a major villain that worked with the alien Mongrel to completely destroy Coast City and nearly destroy the entire world. In the New 52, he turned out to be Kara's dad, Zor-El. While Superman's dad, Jor-El, worked to save his own son, Zor attempted to save all of his hometown of Argo City, using Brainiac tech that he didn't really understand. The tactic worked for a while, but eventually the tech began to fail and the inhabitants of Argo City began to die off one by one, until only Zor-El remained. Brainiac found Zor and converted him into a cyborg that made him lose his memories. To get them back, he attempts to use Kara's Kryptonian DNA and combine it with his own to make himself whole again, a process that breaks Kara's body down into dust and uses the raw genetic material to give him flesh. He succeeds, but in doing so, gets his memories back, and realizing he's killed his own daughter, he quickly control-Z's that mess, turning himself back into a robot and bringing Kara back to life. With this whole process having conveniently removed the kryptonite poisoning from her that was close to killing her at the time. Brainiac had wanted Cyborg Superman to capture Kara so he could study the kryptonite poisoning, and angry at Cy, the two battled it out while Kara escaped. I do really like getting a new, and much more personal, story for why Cyborg Superman. But the best part is something I haven't even covered on this channel yet. The best part comes with the DC Rebirth, when Steve Orlando takes up writing duties on a new Supergirl title. Yes, that's Steve Orlando. Dude's got range. His first Rebirth arc is a sequel to the New 52 arc that sees Cyborg Superman reboot following his tussle with Brainiac, this time with some memories intact. This inspires him to return to Argo City and revive cyborg versions of its entire population. While their physical bodies are mobile, they aren't really alive. They need the spark of life, a sort of joie de vivre, or however French things are said. And so they head to Earth so they can steal it from the humans living there. He says he's doing it all for his daughter, Supergirl, but, you know, just like a teenager, she's not very appreciative of his efforts. Kids, am I right? Anyway, it's a great story arc too, and I love how just this one reimagining of a character has led to such a great arc in 2 different Supergirl comics. I thought that was worth taking note of. Number 3. Speaking of comics that weren't very good, the New 52 Catwoman comic was pretty unremarkable at best and Nocenti at worst. Yes, I really hate Ann Nocenti's work on every New 52 comic she's worked on, which thankfully isn't that many. But there's actually one shining moment during her Catwoman run during issue 18. Like every issue of the series that Nocenti writes, it's guilty of being pretty nonsensical and confusingly written. It starts out with Catwoman talking to herself in a very stream of consciousness manner that includes her saying something about Batman liking the paintings of the museum she's in. She steals them anyway, cause that's what she does, and later Batman shows up and is like, "I like these paintings, Catwoman knows it, she must have stolen them." Which, I mean, is fine I guess, but what, did they like go on a date and come here as Batman and Catwoman and Batman was all like, "I love these paintings. Always remember, Catwoman, I love these paintings. It's very important to me." But whatever, fine. This cat and mouse game is not uncommon for their relationship, so it's fine when Batman sets off after her to get the paintings back. But he's unusually angry this time, crashing their motorcycles in a reckless, dangerous manner and then threatening to bash her head in. Instead, he punches her motorcycle helmet. Repeatedly. Over and over again until it's a crushed pulp and his hand is bleeding. Because, see, this comic immediately follows the death of Damian Wayne in Batman Incorporated. And though Batman attempted to continue on being Batman and ignoring his personal pain and misery in his own comics, it should be absolutely clear how devastated he actually was by the death of his son, of his real son. And nowhere is that displayed more clearly than it is here in this moment. Catwoman doesn't know any of this, but she can clearly see something is very wrong, and she pulls him away from the helmet and attempts to comfort him. And he's so upset that he lets her. Damn, it's such a powerful moment that it legit brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. If only all of Ann Nocenti's run was this good. Batman eventually pushes Catwoman away, because that's what he does, saying people like them can't let others in, but she warns him that he can't always be alone. She also eventually returns the paintings that she stole. As much as I hate Nocenti's work, I will definitely give her credit for having perhaps the best single display of Batman's grief over the loss of Damian in the entirety of the New 52. Number 2. There's been a lot of discussion around women in the fridge characters since the idea was introduced by Gail Simone. This being in reference to the women who existed primarily to be murdered or brutalized to further a male character's story. And while that definitely does happen a lot, I mean, we really see just how much when they all start coming back to life and talking about their brutalizations throughout The Blackest Night. At least part of the reason it happens is due to so many comic book characters being heterosexual men. What I haven't seen much discussion of is when it happens the other way around, which it is going to when the character that we're discussing is a heterosexual female. And so that's somewhat the case for original Wonder Girl, Donna Troy, whose husband and child were ruthlessly killed off in a car crash by some callous writer with no soul. I'm just kidding, I don't know anything about the writer, they could be a great person for all I know. But that doesn't change the fact that, even though she had become separated from the two, Donna's life was essentially devastated by the death of her family so that her story could move on. That kind of death would leave most people emotionally crippled, but Donna not only continued on, she continued to be a superhero. Truly a person who has earned the name Wonder Woman. And then, like salt in a wound, her family was brought back by the Black Lanterns during the Blackest Night event, reviving both her husband and her baby. And man, zombie babies. That gets me every time. So messed up, man. So messed up. Then on top of everything else, the zombie baby actually bites Donna Troy, infecting her with the blackness of death. Which I didn't even know they could do that. And that's because they don't do it anywhere else. That inconsistency could be seen as a bad thing, but I think it makes the scene all that much more impactful. I especially love how the main series mentions this event dismissively, just being like, oh, you know, one of those Black Lantern things, bitter. No big. It's not like it was any zombie in particular. Except it was a big deal. It was the Black Lantern of her dead baby. That's insane. I can't believe I only read these comics last year, and only so I could review them for the channel. After how bad the Flashpoint and Forever Evil tie-ins were, I figured these would have to be just as bad, and I was avoiding them like the plague. No pun intended. Well, maybe a little intended. But in the end, the Blackest Night tie-ins proved to be pretty great, and I'm glad I got a chance to read them. Number 1. Getting to go back over comics I've read before in order to scour them with a more critical eye and find things to talk about for these reviews has definitely been one of the most interesting parts of starting this channel. So it was pretty exciting to see that one of my favorite comics from when I was a little kid actually holds up pretty well. Infinity Gauntlet was the culmination of Jim Starlin's work for nearly 20 years. It was the man at the top of his game, and it actually only got better to me after reading the stories leading up to it, like Thanos' previous clashes with the Avengers, and the stories following it, like the Infinity War and Infinity Crusade. Everything about Infinity Gauntlet was a game changer. From the gorgeous Ron Lim art to the masterful flow of the story, to how it opens with the deaths of half the universe, to the little Easter eggs hidden throughout like this Howard the Duck or this reference to Stan Lee, to the best fight scene depictions I've ever seen in comics, to the new development of more intricate villain motivations, to this unintentional metaphor for Trump's entire presidency, to this moment where all the few remaining heroes are scrambling for the Infinity Gauntlet and Drax accidentally attacks Hulk in the confusion. Oh, that Drax, what a character. To the incredibly satisfying and conclusive ending. There's just really nothing about this comic I ended up disliking that I can think of. It's got everything. And I'm so glad I got to talk about it here. Twice now even. So there you have it, 5 of my favorite moments that I've covered on this channel so far. Honestly, it was hard to pick because I've enjoyed working on this channel so much and I love hearing from all of you. Speaking of, let me know in the comments what your favorite bits from the channel have been. Or just some of your favorite comics. Or, well, anything. I will say, you guys always surprise me on what videos you watch the most. Well, almost always. You liked Blackest Night a lot. It's definitely been one of my most viewed videos, and, well, it should be. Great comic. My most popular videos so far have definitely been New 52 Supergirl, New 52 Batgirl, X-Men Second Coming, New 52 Catwoman, and my most popular video so far has definitely been New 52 Nightwing. You guys love Nightwing. I guess I'll have to look for more of his comics to cover. Alright, well that's all for now. Thanks to anyone who actually listened to me blabber on this far. Hope to see you next time, and here's to the next 100.